Forget the stained glass windows, the rituals, and the religious dogma for a moment. Let's look at the raw historical data. What if I told you that the greatest expert in emotional intelligence, crisis management, and leadership in history never wrote a book, never commanded an army, and never held a corporate title? We are talking about a figure who, with zero financial resources, split time in two and revolutionized Western civilization purely through the power of his word and his example. Whether you are a CEO, a student, or someone just trying to survive the chaos of modern life, you are likely dealing with anxiety, fear of the future, or difficult people. The truth is, most of us are building our lives on sand, chasing approval, hoarding money out of fear, and exploding in anger. But this Galilean carpenter offered a counterintuitive blueprint that worked. He taught that the way up is down, that strength is found in gentleness, and that you win by serving. Today, we are stripping away the theology to hand you the practical, philosophical strategy of the greatest mentor who ever lived. Prepare yourself, because we are about to decode the 10 habits that transformed a dozen fishermen into leaders who changed the world, and that can change your reality today. Chapter 1. The Ethical Revolution on the Mount. The Golden Rule. When we analyze the history of Western ethics, it is impossible to ignore the moment a carpenter from Galilee climbed a hillside and redefined the rules of human coexistence. He wasn't just speaking about ancient laws, but proposing a golden rule that works to this day in any negotiation or interpersonal relationship. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It is a brilliant strategy of reciprocal empathy that, if applied in the corporate or family world, eliminates most conflicts before they even start, as it demands the individual step out of their ego and see the other's need. From a practical standpoint, the historical proposal of turning the other cheek was often misinterpreted as weakness, but in reality, it was an act of moral resistance and supreme dignity against the Roman oppression of the time. Think of conflict situations in traffic or at work. Reacting with aggression only escalates the problem, but maintaining serenity disarms the opponent and keeps you in control of the situation. Figures like Martin Luther King and Gandhi used this same tactic millennia later to topple empires and injustice, proving that active nonviolence is one of the most powerful tools for social change anyone can wield. This revolutionary view on how we treat our enemies and neighbors was not just a moral code, but a complete break from the eye for an eye mentality that perpetuated endless cycles of vengeance in antiquity. By suggesting that true strength lies in self-control and mercy, this historical master planted the seed that inner peace is non-negotiable and does not depend on external circumstances. And it is interesting to note that to maintain this peace of mind, he would soon address something that keeps many people awake at night to this day: our obsessive relationship with what we own and the fear of the future. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Secrecy and the Cure for Anxiety. He touched on a sensitive point of our vanity, the need for external approval. When teaching about charity and spirituality, the order was clear and direct. Do it in secret, without blowing trumpets. If you do good expecting applause or likes, that momentary approval is already your only reward, and the cycle ends there, empty. The construction of a solid character happens backstage, when no one is looking. Try doing a good deed today without telling absolutely anyone, and see how it strengthens your emotional self-sufficiency. Next, he got real about materialism, warning that it is impossible to serve two masters with the same dedication. Either you focus on purpose, or you become a slave to money. He explained that where your treasure is, there your heart is also, suggesting that accumulation generates a paralyzing fear of loss. To apply this, it is worth practicing detachment. Clean out your wardrobe or office and donate what is sitting idle. You will feel firsthand that by decluttering the physical environment, the mind gains clarity and focus adjusts to what really matters. And to close this reasoning on mental health, he attacked anxiety with impeccable logic. Worrying does not add a single hour to your life. Using the example of nature, which prospers without stress, he taught to focus on sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, a technique we now call living in day-tight compartment. If you want to dive deeper into this, the book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie is a practical manual of this philosophy. But living in the present requires us to stop policing other people's lives, and that was when he dropped a bombshell about the destructive habit of judging. Shaktan Chapter 3, The Mirror of Criticism and the Law of Persistence. He was surgical when speaking about judgment, using the comedic metaphor of trying to remove a speck from someone's eye while you have a wooden plank in your own. This is pure psychological projection. We criticize in others what we hate or deny in ourselves. Before giving feedback to your team or correcting your partner, do a brutal self-analysis. This validates your moral authority. Try the 10-second pause rule before criticizing someone. Ask yourself if you haven't already made the same mistake, and empathy will totally change the tone of your conversation. Then he delivered the algorithm for success. Ask, and you shall receive. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened. Note that the verbs indicate progressive and insistent action. He didn't say wait while sitting down. In the world of sales or entrepreneurship, this is the definition of active prospecting and resilience. The no is just a step towards the yes. If you want a promotion or to close a deal, don't just send an email and wait, call, visit, insist intelligently, because the door only opens for those who make noise at the handle. To finish this block, he contrasted building a house on rock versus on sand. Building on sand is fast and cheap, like seeking shortcuts and immediate success. Hack. But in the first crisis, the storm, everything crumbles. Building on rock takes work, requires deep foundations, like studying seriously and creating solid relationships. Invest time in learning the fundamentals of your field, not just passing trend, because when the crisis comes, and it will come, only what has roots remains standing. And speaking of roots and growth, he used stories from the field to explain how ideas multiply in the human mind. Chapter 4, Mentorship via Stories and the Power of Forgiveness. He explained that the human mind is like different types of soil. Some are hard, others rocky, and others fertile. In the parable of the sower, he teaches that it's no use having the best idea, seed, if the environment, soil, is not receptive. In your daily life, stop wasting energy trying to convince people who are not ready to listen. Focus on those who give a return. Audit your connections. Invest 80% of your time in fertile soil people who multiply what you deliver, and stop throwing pearls where there is no appreciation. Another crucial point was the illogical math of forgiveness. Forgive not 7 times, but 70 times 7. He wasn't talking about being a doormat, but about mental hygiene. Holding a grudge is like drinking poison expecting the other person to die. A grudge occupies RAM memory in your brain, preventing you from creating and producing. Do a practical exercise today. Identify an old hurt that no longer serves you and decide rationally to let it go, not for the other person, but to release your own creativity and energy for new projects. He also brought up the idea of the mustard seed. The smallest of beginnings can generate the greatest of results. This is the modern concept of compound interest applied to habits. Small daily actions, imperceptible at the start, turn into a giant tree over time. Read Atomic Habits by James Clear to see the science behind this parable. Do not despise your small beginnings or pilot projects, for it is in them that exponential potential resides. But attention, having potential is not enough. You need courage to take risks, as he would teach in the toughest story about talent management. Chapter 5, Talent Management and the Risk of Omission. The parable of the talents is perhaps the most severe lesson on economics and management he ever gave. The employee who buried the money out of fear of losing it was harshly reprimanded, while those who took risks and multiplied it were promoted. The lesson is clear: omission and the fear of making mistakes are worse than failure while trying to get it right. At work, don't be the professional who just keeps things running. Propose improvements, take on new projects, and take calculated risks. The market punishes stagnation and rewards responsible boldness. He reinforced the need to always be prepared with the story of the 10 virgins. 5 had extra oil for their lamps, 5 did not. When the opportunity, the bridegroom, there was no time to prepare on the spot. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. If you wait for the job opening to appear to start studying English, you've already lost. Keep your skills sharp today for tomorrow's challenges. Take an hour out of your weekend to learn a new skill that might not be useful now, but will be your differentiator when the crisis hits. Furthermore, he defined ultimate leadership based purely on practical empathy. I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. At the end of the day, your legacy will not be measured by what you accumulate, but by the impact you caused on the lives of the people around you. This creates a service culture that builds loyalty with clients and friends. But be careful, helping your neighbor requires breaking deep-seated prejudices, and he demonstrated this by blowing everyone's mind with the story of an unlikely hero coming from an enemy tribe. Chapter 6. Breaking Labels and True Integrity. By telling the story of the Good Samaritan, he destroyed the social prejudice of the time. The hero was not the priest or the religious figure, the status quo, but the Samaritan, a social outcast who was the only one to act with compassion. The lesson is direct. Labels, titles, and diplomas are worthless if there is no attitude behind them. In the corporate environment, the solution often comes from the intern or the outsider, not the director. Be open to listening to and valuing those who deliver results and demonstrate character, regardless of their hierarchical position or background. He also clashed head-on with the hypocrisy of traditions, stating that it is not what enters the mouth that defiles a man, but what comes out of the heart. He focused on intention and essence, not on external appearance or empty ritualism. Bring this into your life by being authentic. It's no use posting motivational quotes on LinkedIn if you treat the waiter or your subordinates poorly. Integrity is being the same person on stage and backstage. Align your speech with your practice, because the cognitive dissonance between what you say and what you do destroys your credibility. Finally, by praising Mary's attitude, who stopped to listen, in contrast to Martha's agitation, he taught about the power of focus and prioritization. Sometimes we are so busy doing things that we forget why we are doing them. Being productive is not about being busy all the time. It is about knowing when to stop and sharpen the axe. But this wisdom of knowing when to act and when to pause would be taken to the extreme when he addressed the most delicate issue of all: how to deal with money and ambition without losing one's soul. Chapter 7. Resource Management and the Danger of Attachment. He brought a very advanced financial vision when telling about the rich fool who accumulated goods only for himself and lost his life that very night. The mistake was not the profit, but the lack of purpose for the capital. Stagnant money is stopped energy. Learn the rule of flow. Resources need to circulate and impact other lives to truly multiply. If you accumulate only out of insecurity, you end up building a gilded prison. I recommend reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad to understand this crucial difference between accumulating liabilities and building assets that generate real value. His encounter with the rich young ruler was a definitive test of priorities, where he proved that the problem is never possession, but obsession. By suggesting that the young man sell everything, he was diagnosing where that man's identity resided, in his bank statement, not in his character. If your emotional security depends entirely on your balance, you are, paradoxically, a poor slave. Practice strategic detachment. Ask yourself today what you own that, in reality, owns you, and start loosening the ties of these material dependencies. On the other hand, he praised the shrewdness of a manager who used money to make friends and secure his future, validating financial intelligence applied to network. This teaches us that genuine networking is worth more than gold. Using your resources to open doors and help people creates a bank of favors that no crisis can break. But to build this solid network, it is necessary to totally invert the logic of power we know, something he physically demonstrated in his last meeting with the team. Chapter 8. Inverting the Leadership Pyramid. In the moment of highest tension, he did the unthinkable. He took a towel and washed his followers' feet, a task reserved for the lowest slaves. This was a management shock, destroying the corporate ego and establishing the concept of servant leadership. If you want to be the greatest in your company or family, you need to be the one who serves the most. Leaders who isolate themselves at the top of the pyramid lose connection with reality. Try going down to the shop floor and listening to those at the tip of the operation. This generates an unbreakable loyalty that no salary can buy. He explained that whoever wants to be first must be the slave of all, an idea that Simon Sinek brilliantly explores in Leaders Eat Last. True authority does not come from the title on the business card, but from the willingness to sacrifice your comfort for the good of the group. Start asking your team or family, what can I do to make your work easier today? This simple shift in posture transforms authoritarian bosses into respected mentors and creates an environment of mutual cooperation. This attitude eliminates toxic internal competition because when the leader serves, he defines the organizational culture by example, not by decree. No one follows a general who stays in the tent while the troops bleed. People follow those who are in the trench with them. And to keep this service energy constant without burning out, he taught a vital principle about connection and productivity, using the metaphor of a plant that needs to be linked to its source to survive. Praktuati Chapter 9, The Art of Pruning and Productive Connection. Using the image of the vine, he taught that no branch can bear fruit alone. Productivity depends on the connection to the source. In the modern world, this is about being connected to mentors, environments, and knowledge that nourish your growth. If you isolate yourself, you wither. Evaluate your ecosystem. Are the places you frequent and the people you associate with nourishing you or draining your sap? The rule is clear. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so choose to be plugged into sources of high intellectual and ethical voltage. He also introduced the painful but necessary concept of pruning. Every branch that bears fruit is pruned so that it will bear even more fruit. This means that to grow, you will need to cut good things from your life to make room for the excellent one. It is the principle of focus. You can't embrace the world. Identify projects, habits, or even relationships that are merely good, but drain the energy from what could be extraordinary, and have the courage to cut them. Pruning hurts in the short term, but it is the only guarantee of an abundant harvest in the future. His promise was that by maintaining this connection and accepting the pruning, the joy would be complete. This is not fleeting euphoria. It is the satisfaction of seeing consistent and sustainable results. Unlike cheap motivation that lasts a day, the discipline of staying connected to your purpose generates fruits that remain, and it is exactly about leaving something permanent and overcoming the chaos of the world that he dedicated his last and deepest words of encouragement. Chapter 10, Emotional Intelligence in Chaos and the Legacy. He was brutally honest when he said, "In the world you will have tribulation, killing any childish expectation of a life without problem." Crisis management begins by accepting that the problem is inevitable. The secret lies in the response. Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. This is pure stoicism. You do not control external events, but you control your reaction to them. When the crisis knocks on your door tomorrow, don't ask, "Why me?" but rather, "How do I overcome this?" This mental resilience is what separates winners from victims. In his final speech, he spoke about leaving a peace that is not of the world. The world's peace depends on everything going right. The peace he proposes is internal, armored against circumstances. It is the ability to maintain calm in the middle of a hurricane, which gives you an absurd competitive advantage. While everyone is desperate making emotional decisions, those who maintain serenity can see strategic exits. Practice meditation or contemplative prayer to build this mental bunker that protects your sanity. Finally, his legacy was not buildings or riches, but the people he formed. In his final prayer, he gave an account saying that he revealed the message to those who were entrusted to him. True success is succession. You are only a true master if you form other masters. Ask yourself, if you left the scene today, would your work continue? Invest time in teaching, sharing, and lifting other people up, because the only thing that really remains on this earth is the seed we plant in the minds and hearts of others. Now you have the map in your hands, but here is the uncomfortable truth. Knowledge without action is just mental obesity. You can listen to all these 10 chapters, nod your head, and go right back to your old habits, reacting with ego, hoarding out of fear, and holding on to grudges that poison your creativity. Or you can decide to be the exception. I want to challenge you. Are you brave enough to apply the pruning we talked about? Do you have the guts to wash the feet of the people around you and lead by serving? Or will you continue trying to win by shouting louder? The world is full of people building on sand. Be the one who builds on the rock. I really want to know which of these 10 chapters was a slap in the face for you today. Which one do you need to start living right now? Drop it in the comments. Let's create a community of people who are actually walking the talk. And if you are tired of shallow content and want to continue accessing this kind of deep, practical wisdom that actually changes lives, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notification. Don't let the noise of the world drown out the signal. See you in the next video.